bullies, boobs, and breast cancer. That's what I'm going to talk to you about today. I'm sorry I missed last week's video. I came down with a really bad virus. I could not talk. Both my eyes got infected, sore throat, coughing, and that infection, actually my 3 grandkids got it. One got pneumonia, one got an ear and eye infection. The other one was coughing so hard he threw up, the poor little guy. It's been a rough month, all of October. It's been just one thing after the other and feeling like hell. And finally beginning to feel a little bit better, although I'm still very weak. Anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to explain, say I'm sorry. I tried to do a YouTube short and I couldn't figure that out. And I thought, you know what, Denise, you don't even have the strength to hardly lift your arm. What the hell are you doing? So I gave up and went back to bed. Oh, by the way, I'm Denise, and this is Travels in My Chair. Welcome today. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would I want to watch a video about bullying and boobs and breast cancer all in one video? They just don't seem related. And they kind of are and they kind of aren't. So grab a cup of coffee, put this on pause for a minute because I think it's probably going to be a bit of a long story. But as long as my voice holds out, because I'm still feeling really quite under the weather. I'll go back to the 60s, in the early 60s. I was in, we called it junior high school, but you would call it middle school if you were in the States. And I was the smallest girl probably in the school, never mind my age group, which at that time I was just sneaking on to 14. I weighed in the light 80s, sometimes lower. I was skinny. I was totally flat-chested. I was the only girl in my homeroom class that had not started her periods. All of those girls, well, 2 of them in particular, Sharon and Cheryl, had poofed up hair, boobs. You know, we wore the torpedo boobs then, right? Remember? Stuck straight out. And they had full girl figures and wore tight skirts. And I was always in clothes that were way too big for me and looked pretty horrible, to be truthful. And I had glasses and a mouthful of crooked English teeth. So there you go. Anyway, one day at gym class, we were finished and we were in these goofy little uniforms they made us wear. And Cheryl came over to me and she said, you know, Denise, you've got very large nipples. I don't think I'd ever looked at my nipples, to be honest. I kind of went, what? And she said, oh yeah. She said, and when it's cold out or anything, they're going to stick out like little torpedoes. So you should get your mom to get you a bra. Well, I was totally flat-chested, like, and I'd never thought for a minute of a bra. I always just wore my English undershirts, you know, underneath my sweaters. But anyway, Saturday came and I said to Mom, we need to go to Simpson Sears to get me a bra. So we found the lady there that had been working there for about 1,000,000 years. And she fitted me and said, I didn't like the sound of the The meant that she didn't think she had a bra small enough to fit me. And in the end, I got a 26 AA. And it was padded. They didn't have training bras there. Heck, they didn't even have clothes that fit me because the adult lady sizes, the lowest they went was size 8. And I probably wore size 0. As I said, all my clothes were always too big for me. I looked a little bit goofy, but I was very happy with my new bra. It was white, and I thought, wow, I finally got a bosom. And my mom said, there, you're a big girl now. And so on Monday I went to school, so you can imagine. Friday I was in school, flat-chested. Monday I was in school with 2 little torpedo bumps coming out of my chest. And of course, Dennis, the school bad boy, sat behind me in homeroom class, was getting a good story from Cheryl and Sharon, who were going on about my new breasts. And so when I went up to, and I was supposed to be passing out papers, he just like that and elbowed me in my boob, and the foam just stuck in and didn't pop back out. You don't think it hurts, but all these years later, it still hurts because that one simple thing changed the way I looked at my body for the rest of my life. And it didn't stop with him elbowing me in my boob. It got much worse. I got locked out of the school by Cheryl and Sharon. I got locked in bathroom cubicles by Sharon and Sharon. I got teased, I got laughed at, I got circled when I was in gym class until finally I made up excuses so I wouldn't have to take gym. And this went on for the whole year. I started losing more weight, still didn't have a period, spent a lot of time crying. Getting locked out of the school was pretty heavy. And at that time in our lives, if you go back into the 60s, you'll remember you didn't ever go and squeal to your parents or to your teacher or your principal, because if you did, the bullies would only get you worse. They'd find a way to get you away from the school, and that would be it. And I knew that because I'd been chased home a couple of times. A couple of things happened later on at the very tail end of the year. First of all, my parents were getting increasingly worried about me, and they said one night, you know, we're going to take you to the doctor, Denise, there's something really wrong. And finally I told them what was wrong. And my dad said, well, you know what, you're near the end of the school year. If you can just hang in there, they're going to forget about it by next year. They'll have somebody else to tease or make fun of. And my mother said, and also, down the road, when those girls' bosoms hang down to their waist, yours will be small and pert and beautiful. And who'll be laughing at who then? And then about, I don't know when it was springtime anyway, a German boy came to our school. His father worked something to do with the oil industry from Germany, and he had moved around a lot as a child to, you know, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, different places. His father was very brilliant, and I guess that's why he was in Calgary. But poor Carl, he had to wear a double-breasted suit every day to school with a perfectly knotted tie. The pants were baggy and cuffed. His shoes were black and shiny. He hardly knew English, and he was older and big. Like I'm saying, this kid was, I didn't even go anywhere near his shoulders. He was so tall and built like a football player, you know. Blonde hair, blue eyes. I guess in the wartime he'd have been the perfect one, right? And he was really quite a friendly guy, but he was also kind of lonely because he was teased by all the kids in the school. And the only person that didn't tease him was me, because I knew what it was like to be teased. So he took it upon himself. They held him back in grades, like he should have probably been graduating. And here he was in grade 9 or 10. It was pretty sad because he was very smart. So he would practice with me. He'd walk me home, meet me at the door of the school every night after school. He never told me where he lived, but he'd walk me home, which was quite the hike, and he'd practice English with me, and then he'd say goodbye. He'd go home, and I had no idea that he was walking miles out of his way because he'd heard that I was getting bullied, and he was my protector. And I never knew that till probably right near the end of the school year when some boys came after him, and let's just put it this way, he was a very tough young man. And of course after, I guess it was right near the tail end of school, he came to me one day and he said, I'm sorry, I have to go. They're transferring my father again, and we're moving again. And I never knew what his father did. It was quite top secret apparently. And I never knew what happened to Carl, but I figure he saved my life. Such a lovely man. Then came high school, and my mother was right, my father was right. They had forgotten. And I finally started my period, and I finally started to develop little tiny, little buds, just enough to have a little bra, you know, a little lacy thing that really did nothing, but it made me feel better anyway. But that whole thing in junior high school had really, really affected my body, how I looked at my body. But as happens, time goes on, and finally, again, my mother was right, you know, girls with big breasts, they were beginning to flop, and mine were hardly even had to have a bra. There they were. It just, I don't know, it was not such a big deal, but a big deal in the fact that my wedding dress had a little bit of a turtleneck to it. I never wore anything low cut, never wore bikini tops or, scoop neck shirts or anything like that. I covered up as much as possible. And that was an embarrassment, because if I look back now, I actually had a cute little body. I can admit that now, but back then, no way. So then came adulthood. I got married, luckily to a man who didn't care that I didn't have huge, humongous breasts. And I had children. I very rarely wore a bra, actually, because I didn't feel I needed one, so I didn't care. And then one day, I applied for a job at a local car dealership and said, oh yeah, come in later for an interview. I said to my 2 daughters, I said, you guys got to go to the Salvation Army thrift store and buy me a bra. Here's a couple of bucks. They looked at me and they ran off to the store. So they got me a white padded bra, if you can imagine. I'm sorry, I'm losing my throat again. Voice, sorry. Anyway, they got me a white padded bra, and I wore it with a red t-shirt because I thought red was a power color. And I was applying for a job as a salesperson. And so the manager just kind of asked me questions, but he knew me from my 2 stores and stuff. So he knew, how I did business and things. And the owner said to me, well, I don't know about a female car salesperson. What do you do if one of your kids is sick? And I just sat back and pushed my glasses up in my face, and I said, well, I imagine I'd do the same thing you would do. And the manager just kind of lowered his glasses and went, you'll do. It was a hard go, I will tell you, because all of a sudden, breast became an issue again. Just give you an example. After I had my last daughter, I was nursing her, but still working. So I'd nurse her in the morning, and then nurse her right after work, and nurse her before bed. And that was right. So one day, one of the local businessmen said, look, I've got a display happening at the local boat show in Vancouver, and I'd really like it if you girls, me and my partner that I worked with, could come and help promote the area and the marina that we're going to build. So we went, sure, okay. He said, it'll only be for a couple of hours, once you get there. Well, that was a lie. We got there and we were there for hours and hours, and I'd go into the bathroom and pump and then come back out. I'd stuff my bra with saran wrap so that it wouldn't leak. I was uncomfortable. I was beginning to get feverish. I said, we gotta go. No, you gotta wait just a few minutes. But as the day and night wore on, my breasts were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, the men were getting way more enthusiastic. They'd come over to shake my hand, but they never once looked in my eyes. And for the first time, I realized how horrible it must be for a girl who's born with and ends up with big breasts. How the heck do you get respect? At least for me, if a man is talking to me, he's talking to me, because I've got nothing else down here for him to talk to. He'd be like, whatever, where am I supposed to look? But you look at my eyes, that's where he's supposed to look. And that really, absolutely changed my whole way of looking at my body that one day. So time goes on, and I'm not ashamed of my body anymore. I don't flaunt it, but I'm not ashamed of it. And then in December 2006, I am diagnosed with breast cancer. And I went, well, aren't you just a wonderful little God? Small g. All my life, all I've been doing is being concerned and worried about my breasts. My whole life. And now you want to take one away. Have at it. I don't care. I don't care. So right after I had the surgery and I had the drains pulled out, which that was hard after a few weeks, my little grandson was visiting, and I was laying in bed and not feeling very well, just starting new meds. And he came in and he looked at my one breast, and then he looked at the scar, my other one, and he goes, and he kisses my breast, and he looks at the other one and he pets it and goes, and then takes off laughing. So many years later, when another grandchild comes along, she comes up to me and she lifts up my shirt. She's only a little tiny toddler, right? And she lifts up my shirt, pulls down my bra, and she goes, "Grandma, boobie." I go, "Yeah, that's a boobie." And then she pulls down the other side and goes, "Grandma, owie. Oh, owie." Gives it a kiss and takes off. So that's what I got to tell you about breast cancer in a nutshell. Owie. Big frickin' owie. I spend my whole life concerned about my breasts, my adult life. At the end of the day, who cares? I'm alive. I just got the results back from my last set of CT scans. Blood work, everything looks okay. Now, doesn't mean I don't have cancer, it's just not at this moment in time deciding to grow. I still have lots of lower back and hip pain. And also with this virus, it's made me so weak that my legs won't hold me up. And that's been really scary. And that has probably more to do with MS than anything. I wanted to tell you about my breast struggle, boobs, bullying, and breast cancer. Because if you think for 1 minute that bullying in any way, shape, or form does not affect you, if you've been bullied upon, it absolutely does. You may think deep down inside you've buried it, but it's not buried very deep, and it will come forth, and it might come forth in a real ugly way. I mean, when I was growing up, there was a boy come to think of it, it was that Dennis kid in junior high school in our neighborhood, which was a middle class neighborhood. Cats and dogs started having ears and tails chopped off. They never ever knew for sure it was him, but we all knew it was him. And in the end, he went to juvenile home for something. But to be so cruel. And I've often wondered what he became as an adult after everything he was as a teenager. So if you have someone in your family, a grandchild or whatever, that's being bullied in school, it's a different situation now. You know, like I said, back then, we didn't dare tell anybody, but now kids are more open to telling their parents, more open to talking about it. But those bulliers are bullying in a totally different way. We didn't have social media. They're bullying on social media, and they can destroy a child's life. So keep your ears tuned, if you notice the difference in your child, notice the difference in the way they're interacting with the family, or that they're not eating properly, or they seem to have stomach aches, just really be vigilant, because, hey, I was 14 years old. I was bullied, and at 71 I can still talk about it, because it really did. It did affect me in so many ways. It stopped me from doing so many things because I was so embarrassed. My skinny, flat-chested body. And hey, now, who the heck cares? So thanks for joining me. I'm sorry my voice, I probably sound like I'm talking through a piece of cardboard or something. Hopefully I'll be better next video and find something fun to talk about. Thank you everyone for joining me. Stay well. Please, if I can ask you to do one thing, treat this winter like the winter of 2020. In other words, if you're in a crowd of people, please wear a mask, wash your hands, disinfect your hands, because this virus, like I've had my 5th COVID shot. I've had my flu shot. This, to me, is a virus that's not like a flu. Or if it is a flu, it's something we haven't got a shot for yet. So try to stay away from crowds until they can figure out what's going on. I think that might be a good idea, because I'm telling you, if you're immune compromised, this is going to kick you right in the you know where. So again, thanks for joining me. Please take care. Wash your hands, wear a mask, love your grandkids, but they are little petri dishes on feet when they're coming from school, so be very careful. And I'll see you next time. Love you. Bye.